Big Ben, the Elizabeth Clock Tower, London, England. We have always suspected that this structure is older than what we've been told, and it was not built by our civilization. Today I'm going to show you evidence that is going to blow your mind. Me and my team here, we've been in contact with the Parliamentary Archives, where we are told that Big Ben was commissioned, funded, and built as part of the Palace of Westminster reconstruction after a supposed 1834 fire. This is an official parliamentary building. Big Ben, the Elizabeth Clock Tower, we are told, was designed by an architect of Parliament, all under state contract. And this is according to the mainstream history. All of it was government funded, where because it was government funded, they should have been required, as we all know, to have official drawings, the blueprints, the ledgers, specifications, and inspection certificates, all kept under the parliamentary record. I want to make this so clear. This is not private information. We should all be able to see this. So, I sent them an email. Because for one, if they have these blueprints, I want to see them. It would hopefully show all of the underground tunnels that connect to all of the old world buildings in the area. It would show us the echo chambers that we discussed. But for two, if they don't have these records, then it would expose that the most famous clock on Earth wouldn't have records of how it was built. But we all know that they're going to have these records, right? We asked the Parliamentary Archives if they or any associated archive holds any original materials related to the Great Clock of Westminster, Big Ben, the Elizabeth Clock Tower, to design or construction. Specifically, we have requested them to provide the original blueprints. This is what we want to see. Or if they have the engineering drawings, ledgers, engineering calculations, or specifications and communication between the architect, the builder, or officials. Meaning, did they ever talk to each other? Are there any dialogues at all? Any photographs taken of the construction? And I also want to know, do they have any inspection certificates? And I want you all to remember this moment. It is the moment that you will never get to go back from. You will forever fully know that what we have been told in all of your history classes and what you can read online, the mainstream narrative, it is all based on lies. So, here we go. Their reply: we have surprisingly few architectural drawings of the Great Clock in our collections. They don't have the construction records that we asked for. They don't have anything that actually proves that Big Ben, or the Elizabeth Clock Tower, was constructed in the 1800s, exactly like they're telling us. So I pressed further. They were trying to send me to other sources. Going into this, I already know who should have this information. I already know who should have this documented. I already know who should have this archived. It's them. So I just continued on and ignored their brush-off attempt. I replied to them saying I wanted to follow up briefly regarding your note that there are surprisingly few architectural drawings of the Great Clock in our collections. Could you please confirm the following? Whether the Parliamentary Archives has ever held the complete set of original architectural, structural, or engineering drawings for the Great Clock or the Clock Tower. Have they ever had them? I want to know. If you did have them at any point, were these records transferred? Were they lost? Or, as I personally believe, never had them at all? Because based on my research, they did not construct this. I also want to know, are there any existing catalog references or accession numbers for whatever drawings or related materials remain in your care? And then their reply takes this whole thing so much deeper. We are told, and it will forever be documented, that the architectural drawings, everything that we asked for, the blueprints, they were never part of the Parliamentary Archives collections, where we get the biggest lie of them all, saying that they were not produced by Parliament, where we all know, we just showed this, that they were. A massive slip-up, and they are caught. Because we already know that the Big Ben, the Elizabeth Clock Tower, was built by the Parliament as part of the official reconstruction of the Palace of Westminster, Remember, we just covered this. They built it after the fire, supposedly. This means that every single drawing, calculation, and inspection record was government property. Under 19th century British law, those records had to be preserved in state custody. Check this out. The Public Records Act of 1838 established that all records created by government departments must be preserved as public property. Let's be clear. We are told that construction began 2 years after this law was put into place. They supposedly worked on it until 1859, meaning that they should have been documenting all of the records under law. So where are the records? Where are the blueprints, the drawings, the engineering documents, all of the evidence that should exist under the Public Records Act of 1838? Because if they actually built this in the 1840s, then they were operating under that law. So telling the public that these records were never part of the parliamentary collections, it's a direct violation of their own history. This was a government project built with public money, under government contracts, and recorded under government law. So to say that they were never produced by Parliament, that is by far the biggest slip up yet. And now I'm going to ask you a question really quick after you just learned this. Do you see how using public money makes it so they legally have to produce these documents to the public? What other place in the world is this happening right now where they're not using public money? And then you have to ask yourself why. Why are they not using public money? I'm not sure, but I don't think they want to show us these records of what's underneath that structure. Now let's get back to Big Ben. They just admitted to all of us that the most famous clock tower on Earth, it has no proof of how or when it was built, which only means one of two things. Either those records were removed, they were destroyed and concealed, which I don't agree with that. I side with this one, that Big Ben was never built by them at all. And they found this thing, and they gave it a story. And they've never even checked to see if they have the blueprints until today. And now they have a massive problem, because we are just getting started. Welcome to episode 154 of my lunch break. I hope you're all having a great day. And if you're new, welcome. Do doctors have Black Friday sales? The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition do. They just announced their Black Friday 30% off sale. This is the biggest sale of the year. The most impressive health and nutrition products in the entire industry. They're now 30% off. Like Lean, the doctor-formulated weight loss supplement for people that want to lose meaningful weight without injections. And 30% off Creatone. Creatine designed just for women to help you look leaner, in shape and toned, without extra dieting or exercise. Even 30% off Field of Greens, the only superfruit and vegetable drink shown in a university study to actually slow aging. And only Field of Greens promises better health results that your doctor will notice. Every Brickhouse product, from better sleep to superior collagen, is 30% off right now. But hurry, because these Black Friday sales do go fast. Visit brickhousesale.com and save 30% right now. That's brickhousesale.com. One more time, brickhousesale.com, and get 30% off right now. I want to thank all of our sponsors over on Patreon. Thank you to flatearthdave.com. You can check out his app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. I'll put the link right in the description. And you can use my referral code, MLB. If you click the Tartaria button, you'll see the My Lunch Break playlist right here. The app is awesome. Thank you to Rebecca K, Chuck Templeton, Joy Lee, Stephanie Nolan, the Burlesons, Charles Kruger, Dan Woodall, Dale, DJ Clicktrack, Jacob Law, Jim Ribley and Christine Duggan, Kyle Glascock, PKTFnews.org, Ben Dries NL, Natalie Shippenoff, Melissa Edgar, Biggles, Clayton Lamar, Will Task Homestead, John Adams, Attila Power, Forbidden Gecko Love, Justin Grobner Grubb, Leah Strong, Dakota Dunn, Jason Hochberg, Marie C., Michael Dingu, Patriot Armory, C3SCOB, SoniaDane.com, James Alt, Jason Press, Miggs, Mark Chapman, Muji and Declan, Ariana Oates, Nathan Burba, Ski, Beacon of Truth, Liberty's Arborist, Thomas Thorpe Peterson, Zinger Coffee and Tea, Emily Maryland, Curious Cat, Mike D, etc., Dan McGee, Lori Hedvig Johnson, Ellie Annie, Seth Craigo, Glenn Gunderson, Mousie's Mouse Cheese Records, Robert's Brain is Gone, Extreme Reality Check, Late for Dinner, Eolo Goncalves, Blake, William Richard Jeffries V, Dax Bilchek and Son, Dylan Mugenberg, Robert Petro, Katz Hill, Susie Q, Yark 143, GOL, Doc Halo, Kenneth Putt, Brenna Fernandez, Paraduction, Necrodemonics, A&W Kerrigan, Rod Wah, Sweetest of Peas, Corbin Mechanical, Road Warrior, Bruce Latour, Codrent, Devin Apoctoli, Ardra Rogers, Brazawayan, Armin Walker, Ivan Apoctoli, Maybell, Laurel L. Burnett, Hoppy John, John and Carlo, Bill, Vince Moreno, Flat Earth Herbs, The Lady Lacey Show, Sven Eric, Tom O'Hara, Ducks MDF TFB, Jeremy and Amy, The Arnolds, Digital Strategy, Earth Daughter, Eha Muir, Harvey, First Class Forklift, Bradford's Donkey Wagon Deluxe, Ernieho, Brendy's Brenna, Backyard Rob, DevlinMcGregor.com, D Woods, Valhalla Stars, Trevor Cashin, Lynn Thielen, Effie Patriot, Cultural Swine Media, Breaking Bigfoot, Gabriel Spark, Ty, Tim Skin, ValleyMedicinals.com, David Torres, Lucy, Shibba Shaba in the Darkness. You guys are all awesome and helping this channel out a little. We have just uncovered something real. We now have a confirmed paper trail that Parliament, the institution that supposedly built Big Ben, they officially admitted to the world that they do not hold the blueprints. No engineering drawings, no construction ledgers, and no proof of how or when the tower was actually built. This is shocking. Could this be the biggest moment in our channel's history? And this is why I always say that we are just getting started, because the picture is becoming clearer and clearer. The more that we ask questions, the more patterns that we see. The Parliament archives told all of us that the architectural drawings were never part of parliamentary archives collections, as they were not produced by Parliament. Meaning, according to them, that the Parliament never created or held the original blueprints for Big Ben, the Elizabeth Clock Tower. They literally just told us that they did not build Big Ben. And here's the problem for them. The Palace of Westminster, including Big Ben, was a government project. On their website, they state that the Palace of Westminster, as we know it today, was built after the fire of 1834, where the architect Charles Barry was chosen to design the new palace, assisted by Augustus, where even if outside architects drew the plans, the Public Records Act of 1830, it requires that all documents made or received by any public department be kept as public records. The drawings were submitted to Parliament for approval or payment, meaning that they had to have them. They had to approve the project that they would pay for and construct with public money. This is obvious in a logical story. And once this happened, the records became state property. And it also proves that they should have had these records, where we are now being told by them that the architectural drawings were never part of parliamentary archives collections. We all know that they had to be in order to approve the project. The project that they paid for with public money, supposedly. The project that they tell us they built. I have to be honest, this is unbelievable. This would appear to violate their own record-keeping laws. This is based on their own laws, not mine and not yours. It's possibly the world's most famous clock that we all know about from episode 150, where Parliament admits that they built Big Ben, but also says they didn't produce or keep the plans to it, which completely breaks their own 1838 law and totally contradicts themselves. They are now on the stage for everybody to see. And we're at the point where they must show proof that their construction story is valid. I don't believe that they're ever going to be able to actually produce this information, because I believe they totally found this building. And they made up this fire story, and they created a fake construction story with zero construction evidence. This is not thousands of years ago. This is within the last 200 years. And I believe they are now exposed forever. And they have also opened up the doors for all of us to ask these buildings the question: do you have the blueprints, the receipt to your story? Do you have the receipt to the mainstream history? And can they show us the proof? I believe what we're going to find is that there really are structures all over the world that were constructed by a civilization that was here before us. Something changed in the 1800s, and people went back to riding around on donkeys and living in sheds. No light bulbs, and suffering in the winters. This was not the time period of massive clock construction, and we all know it. Donkeys Incorporated, completely undocumented blueprints, sneaking in there during the night, lifting stones and massive bells to the top, with no dialogue and raising serious legal questions. What would we have all done without this group? There would be no palaces. It is just incredible. Thank you for all of your help with zero training and getting these buildings done. And thank you to all of our badge members, all of our Patreons, and everybody who takes the time to hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you all in helping grow this channel to brand new people every single day. Showing new people that these structures exist. Showing these new people that these stories cannot be verified. And helping more people be able to question what they've been told and hopefully find more truth. We are on YouTube. We are on Rumble. We're on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify, if you're looking for even more content from us. After seeing this information today, we can all see how unorganized the mainstream narrative really is. They did a terrible job of backing up their story. They had like 200 years. Why is it that they didn't just throw some fake blueprints together? They definitely could have, but now I believe that it's too late because we've caught them. And I want to clarify that the individuals that I am keeping anonymous that are emailing us with this information, these are people. They are not the issue here at all. In fact, they are a huge piece in helping us find the truth, and they don't even know it. Especially the ones that continue to have real dialogue with us. Now, that being said, I emailed them back. And I believe that this episode is going to be going into the My Lunch Break Hall of Fame after this. I said, for clarity, under the Public Records Act of 1838, any architectural or engineering materials created under a government commission would legally constitute public records, since Big Ben was a parliamentary project constructed after that act came into force. Could you please confirm whether any transfer, withdrawal, or destruction of these records has ever been recorded under that law? And we received an email back. This is coming from the senior engagement archivist for the UK Parliament. They replied and said that you have hit the nail on the head. And there it is. This individual is 100% agreeing with us that we are correct about the Public Records Act of 1838, that these documents under law must be preserved as public records. We now also have an admission when they say you are interested in the records of government, and those records, including ones about the construction of Big Ben, will be held by the National Archives at Kew. And this means that these records are classified as government records. So now we're going to take this a step further. We already know that the place that should have had the blueprints does not have them, the Parliament. And they've told us that we've hit the nail on the head and they're on our side. So we have now gone ahead and contacted the National Archives located in Kew, now asking them to prove that they have these blueprints that they legally should have, where we tell them that the parliamentary archives have stated that these would be government records held under your custody since the project was commissioned and funded by Parliament following the 1834 fire, and therefore falls under the Public Records Act of 1838. We already know that the Parliament itself does not have these records of Big Ben's construction. They're on our side, and they agree that these records should exist. At this point in time, we've created and broke this down to a legal ultimatum. There's only two options now. Either they produce the original blueprints to the Big Ben clock tower, they produce the ledgers, the engineering documents. They need to prove that the story that they're telling us is actually true. And they have to have the actual documentation to back it up. They're going to have to admit to us and the whole world right here on this channel that these records do not exist. And this would directly violate the Public Records Act of 1838, and completely destroy the mainstream history forever. There is no third option. And I think we all know where this is headed. I think we all know that they do not have these documents. And we're about to show the world that we have been correct all along. And this will again just be the beginning. It's about to be the beginning for us, and the end for the made-up, ridiculous, illogical stories that we've all been told. The request is filed. The clock is ticking for the National Archives to respond. This is the beginning of something massive. The legal paper trail is in motion. We have shown that the parliamentary archives themselves confirmed that they do not possess the original blueprints for the most famous clock on Earth. They admitted that those records were not produced by Parliament, even though the Palace of Westminster and Big Ben were officially government funded by the public, government-approved projects. We showed that under the Public Records Act of 1838, every single document created or received by a government department must be preserved as public record. These drawings, they have to exist in order for their story to be true, which is exactly why we're just getting started. And we're gonna be using this in the future with all the other incredible old world structures. The senior archivist agreed with us, saying that we've hit the nail on the head. And for the first time ever, we now have an official paper trail. It's not just speculation anymore. We're proving that nobody can actually show us the actual construction evidence for Big Ben. Something that was constructed supposedly within the last 200 years. This exposes that any structure constructed supposedly before 1800, any story they try to tell us about 1492, it is without a doubt null and void. The National Archives of the UK, they replied back to us, and what they said is exactly what we expected. They state that they cannot confirm the existence of any records related to the construction of Big Ben. They then tell me that I'm free to look through the records myself. And in the very next sentence, they admit that these same collections are currently being transferred and not available and won't be open to the public until 2026. So they're telling us to search the very records that we cannot access. A total deflection. The remote inquiries officer at the National Archives of the United Kingdom, he knows exactly what this means. It means that they do not have the original blueprints, and they never did. And when 2026 comes, they still won't, I guarantee it. And now that Big Ben is exposed, it is time to go to Chicago, the Field Museum, and show everybody that something supposedly built in 1921 has actually been there so much longer than anybody could have ever imagined. Chicago, Illinois, you're next.